Final Fantasy XIV's keybinds are genuinely heinous and should be a war crime under the Geneva Convention. The skills are laid out from 1 all the way to equals on your keyboard. I don't know about you, but I wasn't gifted with Andre the Giant's hands, so there wasn't a hope in Gridania was able to reach those binds. Not to mention the second skill binds are control 1 all the way to control equals on your keyboard. If you're using a QWERTY keyboard, for Ireland anyway, I'm not familiar with keyboards outside Ireland. Now, that's not exactly enough real estate for all the skills you need for a job at max level, never mind actually pressing them, considering the most important thing in Final Fantasy XIV is your keybinds. This by itself is enough to get people to start using their mouse to click all their skills, which is okay at low levels, but as you get closer to max level, you'll need the hand speed of Saitama from One Punch Man, as well as giving up your ability to move the camera while trying to click skills. Hey there, welcome to the video. I'm Dying Legacy and you're here to figure out the best way to set up your keybinds. Well, let me share some truth nuggets to make this process vastly quicker for your confused fingers. There isn't. Everything keybinded should be personal to you, either based on personal preference or easy to use or easy to remember, which is different for everybody. Take me for instance. I was a console kid and used controllers for almost 20 years before touching a keyboard, and Final Fantasy itself has a fantastic controller layout for Final Fantasy XIV. I myself haven't used the controller support in FF14 because I much prefer the movement and input choice of a keyboard, especially when it comes to tab targeting MMOs, but because of the amount of skills in the game and my Lalafell sized hands, I use an MMO mouse, the Logitech G600 to be exact, if you wanted to know, which has the number pad on the mouse itself as well as a button to keybind control to use with my mouse hand, which means my mouse hand tends to do most of the work, without compromising on in-game movement. I would highly recommend one. I'm not sponsored, but I definitely vouch for it. But don't worry, this video isn't about setting up hotkeys for an MMO mouse. It's for anyone with anything. The premise is what matters. So first off, let's look at keybinds outside of skills, starting with movement. I also won't be telling you what to actually keybind the skills to, but I will share a few of mine so you can try them yourself, or at least incorporate them into your setup. First off, no matter what MMO I play, I always rebind A and D to strafe instead of move left or right. Why, you ask? Because no one who plays an MMO likes to randomly turn on the spot. You can't avoid AoE damage by pretending to be a tornado. Plus, it frees up Q and E on the keyboard as they were originally move left and right. Don't ask me why. Strafe lets us move left or right while moving forward, while the actual choices of left or right makes you turn. If this is your first MMO, you'll understand right away the moment you try it. For targeting, I use E to cycle through enemies from nearest to farthest, and I use Q to target the nearest enemy, as well as Tab to target myself. This keeps targeting nice and close to the movement keys for me, as I like to do PvP as well as PvE, and ensure there's always a target in range, particularly if I am practically kissing them with how close I am, with an option to cycle from that target to the further out targets, and because I like using all types of roles and jobs. I've binded Shift F to focus a target, for example a tank, and I use F to target them, which makes healing so much easier for my baby hands. Again, all of my keybinds are going to be practical for me, just as your keybinds are going to be practical for you. I'm using an MMO mouse as I said, so these keys are free real estate for me, they may not be for you. And that heavily depends on how your skill keybinds are set up. The hotbar keybinds are the meat of your setup, so instead of sitting here telling you which keys are best to set for your skills, I'll explain the best way for you to decide what to bind. First off, you only need 3 hotbars for every skill your job uses. You could use 4 hotbars like I do for consumables, mounts and other jazz, but that's on you. I myself like to set up my hotbars as a visual representation of my keybinds. My mouse has numbers 1 all the way to 12, which is the same as 1 to equals on your keyboard. And I use the modifiers of holding Control, Shift and Alt to give me 48 keybinds for skills. An example is holding Shift and pressing 4, or holding Control and pressing 4. Shift, Control and Alt are modifier keys. They let you use the same key up to 4 times, opening up the amount of keys we have available. You realistically only need 36, but I like the option of 48 through a 4th hotbar. How you use these modifiers is up to you and what's easiest for you. Being the easiest for you is the theme for this guide, seeing as I keep saying for you. Now, to match this on screen, I changed my hotbar layout to match my mouse's number pad, so I visually know where to stick my thumb, and that's the key to keybinding. I have it matching my mouse keys layout, so all 12 keys, 3 across and 4 down, are displayed as a hotbar, which at the beginning of developing muscle memory helped me a crap load. My layout may look a little all over the place or even chaotic to you, but for me it's exactly where and how to press each key, which means I can spend less time actually staring at my hotbars and more time paying attention to bosses and content. The next tip for keybinding is down to skill placement, and that is to assign alike skills in the same keybind. For instance, on all my healers I have keybinded Swift Cast to Shift 1 and Revive to Alt 1. I do this in the same manner for all my tanks with Provoke and Tank Stance, and on my melee DPS with Second Wind. And across all jobs I have Arm's Length and Surecast keybinded to Alt 6. There are tons of alike skills across jobs and roles. You don't want to get used to using a skill, switch jobs and the skill isn't there. You'll get more confused than a freshly neutered puppy. So I have the skills like this, so muscle memory will ensure I always know where the skills are and I don't get confused when swapping jobs. This goes for regeneration heals on healers, lucid dreaming and damage mitigation on tanks. You're a smart human, you can see where this is going, so in its simplest form, you want keybinds to fit your hands and playstyle, and you want it to be the same across all jobs. It doesn't matter if you're using 1 to 6 and using QERTF on a keyboard, or you use some elaborate keyboard drum set. Put your skills and keybinds where they are easily accessible without straining yourself, and above all else, where you can remember them. Another thing to consider is what skills you use most, because you want the skills you use the most to be the easiest to press, and the least used to be the more annoying to use. Not that they should be annoying to use, they just shouldn't be taking up the easier keys and keybinds to reach. So my main rotation skills are going to be 1 through 12 on my mouse. I don't need to hold shift or control to use, and the skills I use less often in my rotation are closer to button 12 than they are to button 1. The main thing to remember and take away from all of this is to give yourself a visual aid and try to keep skills and actions on the same keys. This goes for sprint and mount as well, by the way. My mouse has extra keys, so if I push my scroll key left or right, it counts as a button for me. So naturally, that's where my sprint and mount is, because I will need those on every job, crafter and gatherer. I don't want to get chased down and brutally murdered because I have sprint on Q for one character and on 6 on another. If my HUD layout interests you, by the way, or you want to know in more detail about how and why I set up my HUD layout the way I did, I have a video for that, and you can find it in the description. With that, I'll leave you with 2 useful keybinds. First off, mouse sonar. I don't know about you, but I tend to lose my mouse a lot, especially when doing raiding and content when there's a lot going on. You can find this in the system tab in your keybinds menu. It's called mouse sonar, and it'll ping your mouse on screen to let you know where it is. I have this set to my mouse's scroll button, as I can even panic press it. It has saved me more than I would ever care to admit, even to my cats. The second keybind is less important, unless you plan on doing a lot of raiding or you're a very active social player, and it's to increase your chat window size. It saves you having to manually stretch and move your chat window. You'll find this under System tab in the keybinds menu. It's called Log Window Zoom. I binded mine to Control Enter. I like to socialize, it frightens me, but I like the adrenaline rush. Thanks for watching. Like the video so more people get a chance to see it, and subscribe so you can be the first to know when I release another video. I have a back catalogue of guides as well, so watch the shit out of those. You can follow me on Twitch for incoherent rants and ridiculousness. Links in the description. And until next time, take care of yourselves and keep being awesome.